Yeah, I'm not
Good
really.
morning, everyone.
Playing basketball is much different. Much different.
I call the Planning and Economic Development Committee to order at 10:30 on February 24th. Would the clerk call a roll?
Legislator Erickson. Meeker.
Here.
Brown.
Yeah.
Knapp.
Here.
Thank you, Clerk Adams, for including the financial statements, reports from OCBC, USAIDA, CRT, and the details about the Opportunity Fund in our January meeting minutes. Are there any corrections to the January minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. So on our first item on our agenda today is an overview of community development with Director Marty Scan.
Yep.
So thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
And I'm going to turn it over to you to get it started.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me, everybody. So what I'd like to do is start by, I put together a quick overview of my department. I thought that would be a good starting spot. Do you want that electronically? There we go. So I think the majority of my staff is paid through admin money from state and federal grants, and we take very little county funding other than the initiatives that the county executive runs through our office. So starting with our federal grants, there's two different types of grants. There's an entitlement grant and there's a competitive grant. Entitlement grants are based on the demographics of your community. There's a bunch of factors that go into them. And then you receive funding based on the analysis of the demographics, determines how much funding you get. And those grants you are entitled to every single year. So we don't compete for them, we don't apply for them. They are awarded to us through the federal government. They're awarded annually. There's three categories to the entitlement grants for us. There's the Community Development Block Grant, which we use for numerous things. The main thing is to provide funding to municipalities for projects that are eligible under the guidelines of HUD parameters. We also use them as matching funds for our New York Main Street grant, which is a state grant that I'll talk about when we get to the state grants. And we also use them as a supplement on our ramp and lead projects. Then there's the home grant, which we use for funding for our ramp program, our access to home program, our shape up program, and our emergency repair / restore programs. We also use this money to assist on lead projects as well. So when we have a lead grant, a lead project to do, there's a certain amount of funding that we're going to spend out of our lead grant on the property, but it may require more funding. And so sometimes we use some funding from CDBG, sometimes we use it from home to offset those costs so that we can take care of the entire property. The third one is our Emergency Solutions Grant, which is money that we use in the community for homeless programs and homeless assistance. These entitlement grants, how the funds are allocated are determined by our steering committee, which meets 2 times a year in May. And the steering committee is comprised of 10 different people, and we meet and the municipalities all apply for projects, and my staff reviews the projects and we present them to the steering committee, and then they determine how our budget's going to be spent and what we're going to award and anything that we're not going to award. And so the steering committee, and then once the steering committee determines that, then I come over to the legislature and I present the projects, I present the budget, and then the legislature authorizes me to move forward.
Is there a list of who's on the steering committee?
Yes. And I will get that to you.
That would be great. And I was also wondering if it could be on the website as well. Like what's mentioned, here's the steering committee, and then here's the members of that committee. Would be great to know who's making those decisions.
Okay. The competitive grant that we have from the federal government is our lead hazard reduction grant. We were awarded $7.75 million in the latest funding round. It's a 48-month grant. And during the time, we will reduce lead hazards in 270 units is the requirement that we have. We'll actually inspect 280 and we'll remediate lead in 270. And that grant's going very well currently. They do a quarterly evaluation of us, and it's a red, yellow, green system, and we're green in every single, so we're ahead, either equal to or ahead of the benchmarks we're supposed to be at. So we're off to a very good start there. The New York State grants are all competitive. The first one is our Access to Home grant. This is an open application one, so it's rolling funding, which means that they don't do it every single year and you have to apply by this date and you're awarded by that date. It's whenever you're getting low on funds, you can reapply to the program to get more funding. So that one we use for our ramp program. And then Affordable Homeownership Development Program is also a rolling application, and this is one that we partnered with Empire Housing and Development Corporation. And on our side of it, so we apply in $600,000 increments as needed, and then we split it with them. And the $300,000 that the county gets, we have a nonprofit called the Housing Development Fund Company that takes homes and refurbishes and rehabs them, and then we sell them to low-income first-time home buyers. And low-income is 80% average median income or lower, which is a family of four, $82,000. And so we use this money to offset the expenses to rehab the house. A lot of times we run into a situation where the cost to rehab the house is more than what we can sell it to the homeowner who's qualified for it. So this is a $40,000 subsidy where we get reimbursed from the state for some of the expenses we incurred that helps bring down our investment into the house and make it affordable for us to do. We also have a New York Main Street grant currently. We were awarded $268,000 in November of 2024. And then property owners, provided that the property owners who are going to be affected or be part of the program, pledged $210,000 of their own money. And then we used $309,000 of our community development block grant money towards this program. So that's a total investment of $758,000. And right now we're doing work in the Village of East Syracuse with this program, this is the second round of this program in East Syracuse. And in the first round, between the property owners, the block grant money, and the award from the state, we had a $906,000, almost $907,000 impact. So if you go into East Syracuse, you come over the bridge and you take a left, you'll immediately see, starting with the Redwood Diner, all of the great things we've done in the first 2 or 3 blocks. We try to do things in a consolidated area so it has an impact that people can see instead of just doing a building here or a building there. And so very good program with the state, and it's been very successful in East Syracuse. We've done it in a number of municipalities over the years. Then the Restore program is an open application, also a rolling program, and we use that for our emergency repair program. And then we have a program we just got in 2024. It was a new grant from the state called the Vacant Rental Improvement Program. We were awarded $2 million in November of 2024. We just recently applied for another round of funding because all these funds are close to being committed. It's been very successful for us. And what it does is, in an unoccupied, uninhabitable unit a person owns that they want to turn into a rental property, we can award between $50,000 to $75,000 for rehab of that property. And then on our county initiatives, we have our county Main Street program, which is mirrored after the New York Main Street program, except it's a lot easier because we made it a lot simpler than the state does. But municipalities apply for funds. The funds are periodically placed into the budget during the budget cycle and approved. And then we send out our notice to all the municipalities saying, we have this money. You can apply for up to $500,000. We require any property owner who's going to be part of it to provide a 25% match at least. A lot of municipalities will have bigger matches because that makes their application more attractive on a limited pool of funds, because we want to have the most impact that we can have. It's been very successful. Since it started, we've awarded $18.9 million, and there's been matching funds of $15.3 million for a total investment of just over $34 million. If you go through the Village of Liverpool, the Village of Marcellus, Manoa, those are places, Baldwinsville, where you can we've had an impact on their little their downtowns and their villages that is noticeable, and they look great. So that's been a really good program, and the municipalities love it because, you know, a property owner understands very quickly that if I can do a $100,000 project and it costs me $25,000, that's a pretty good investment to make my property look a lot better. It's all exterior, there's no interior. It's all exterior.
So I have a couple questions on that.
You said since it started, just when? Like what time?
I believe it started in 2019.
Thank you.
Actually, yeah, it was 2019 because we were actually making the announcement of the first 5 winners the day that Ryan got a call that there was COVID in Onondaga County, and we didn't cancel the press conference. So it was, we started in 19 and we were ready to award at the beginning of 2020, but we held off a little bit.
Good call.
So the municipalities get the notice that the grant is open. How did, then it's on the municipality to kind of contact businesses to
Yes,
let them know?
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So municipalities contact property owners to try and see who's interested. And then we actually contract with the municipality. So, and the municipalities manage the program. So they get the interested people to apply, then they review it, they put together a funding package that they send to us, and then we review it. And then we let the municipalities know who won, and we also go through to make sure that it's all the items aren't necessarily always eligible for the money with what we're trying to do. So we let them know if they've won, and then they oversee the projects. And when the property owner says, I'm done, then someone from the municipality goes out and reviews it to make sure that what they said would be done. And then they submit, and then the municipality submits an invoice to us. We pay them, and then they pay the property owner.
Okay, because I thought that the county directly pays the business owner. It doesn't?
No.
Okay.
We don't. With our New York Main Street, we pay a contractor. We get contractors per property.
Okay.
The New York Main Street one, we manage that. I have an architect on my staff, and she works with the property owner directly. She puts it out to bid. She oversees the project, and then she gets the contractor paid. With this one, it's the municipality oversees the property owners, and then they let us know and submit for reimbursement when they're done with their portion of the project.
Okay. And then can you give me kind of examples of like what qualifies for the Main Street County program?
Yes, it's all exterior facade improvements. So it's windows, it's painting, it's siding, it's entryways. We try and not spend the money on things like paving a parking lot.
Okay, because I've seen announcements saying this was done through our Main Street grant, and it was a commercial parking lot, or it was a gas station parking lot, and that's very confusing.
Yes, there were some exceptions early in the program where we did, like in the village of Camillus, we paid for a parking lot to be done, but it was in pretty bad shape. But we really try and drive it towards having an improvement that people can visualize from the street. And in some instances, we try and stay away from like doing roofing, but if the roof is part of the main facade of the building, then that's a different story, so we'll make exceptions for that.
What metrics are you using to judge success? Like how, you said it's been very successful, and I do see millions have been awarded. Like what metrics are we using to?
Well, one of the metrics is the fact that we only require a 25% match, yet we have almost 50% investment from the property owners in overall the program, right? Because we've invested 18 million, they've invested 15 million. So that's more successful than what we set as a benchmark. But the other, it's really your eyes. I mean, when you go into, like, if you drive through the village of Liverpool and you had gone there 6 years ago, it's dramatically different. We've touched almost every building in that Main Street area. Same thing in Marcellus. So it's really seeing it with your eyes is how you can measure the success.
Thank you.
Is that everybody?
Oh, I guess the other question I have too is for the Main Street. Is the city eligible to apply for that program?
We've done 2 awards to the city. We did when the city applied for their downtown revitalization initiative, which is South Ave and West Onondaga Street. When they were putting their application together, we committed $1.25 million of Main Street funding to help boost their application. and then they were successful, so we're doing projects in that area right now. And then we also awarded $1.25 million to South Salina Street, and those projects are in various stages right now.
Did we do something on the north side too?
We also have a North Side Initiative that was announced last fall. Thanks, Dave. And that's $1.25 million for the north side as well. And we're currently in the early stages of talking to property owners on that one. That one's a little trickier because it's the whole north side. So trying to direct it towards one concentrated area, it may not work the same as we do
Like
with
there's
other
nothing
ones.
on the center.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, there's many of them.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So if you look at sort of the north side TNT area, you can drop out, you can look at the regional market, you can look at some other places, and the chairwoman can probably tell us where she would like to see us focus, so we'll talk to her about that. But yes, yes, that's 1.25 million for that as well.
So just math, 3.75 million to this, okay, thank you.
Yes.
Of the 18.
Okay, the next county initiative that my department runs is the OCHIP program, which is the Onondaga County Housing Improvement Program, or Initiative Program. And the way that this program works is we award $5,000 per unit up to $250,000. So at 50 units, if you go above 50, you get up to $250,000. And then we also have a $750,000 award if it's considered a regionally significant project, which is a project that will have a bigger economic footprint impact than just creating housing. So it's going to be a center-based development that would be, medical offices along with housing, and maybe some commercial, maybe some entertainment. Those things that drive other components of our economic impact would be eligible to apply for the $750,000. To date, we've awarded 59 projects, and the total investment, if all these projects come to fruition, is over $1 billion worth of new housing development. We also,
So before you move on,
Yeah.
So for OCHIP, it would be great to know, so how much, we have so we've awarded 10.6 million. How much, is there still money left over in that program?
Yes.
How much is left over?
So of the OCHIP specific funding remaining right now is 4.395 million. So that's for this program.
So the overall program has been funded for about 15 million.
Correct.
And then it would be great to see statuses of what has been, like I saw there was a different press, how we're supposed to do this, they look and see what has been allocated and what's up and coming, but to have like a kind of table of these are what projects have been given money, this is the outcome, they've been completed, or they're in progress. I think that would be really helpful so we know what's to look forward to, hopefully, right? To then see, okay, these projects moved forward and were completed, and then potentially also see maybe something falls through, we can also see that and know, okay, well, why did that not get completed? How can we help in a different way maybe? So any kind of status reports like that would be excellent. I think a year-to-year basis would be really helpful.
Yeah, question, check. Thank you, sorry. To your point, Jay, you said 59 projects have been awarded. Do we know how many applied?
We have rejected, but we've had a few that haven't gotten far enough to apply.
Okay.
That they've reached out, but especially in the beginning when people didn't really understand the program. Because in order to get to the point where you apply, you need to have your funding streams in place. So some people have to submit a sources and uses budget, they call it. You have to have your design done. You have to have a letter from the municipality saying that they support the project being done in their municipality. So you have to be pretty far down the road. So we have had a handful of people who have reached out, and we've said to them, you need to come back when you get further down the road. As far as people who are outright rejected, we've had two. And both of them were projects that were going to be done at the university that were geared towards student housing. And so our status, our feeling on that is there's no shortage of development for student housing in this city.
I don't.
So we're like, we don't feel that we need to allocate our funds towards that because that is its own.
I would like to know how many didn't make it to the rejection process at some point.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then the people who are reviewing these applications, is that again the steering committee or is that?
So I have a committee that decides whether to fund or not. We meet on an as-needed basis. Usually when I have 4 or 5, when these projects come in, they're 4 or 5 year projects, right? So I don't have to get an application and have an answer in a week.
Yeah.
So I usually try and get 4 or 5 or 6 applications together, and then my steering committee is Dan Hammer from purchasing, Tim Burns from the legislature, and Isabel Harris from the executive office.
Okay.
As far as some of the, for the community-centered type applications for OCHIP, could you just describe a couple of representative examples of things of developments that have been approved?
Sure. There was just an article, Ryan Benz just opened property up on 1117 West Fayette Street, right next door to where they're building new police headquarters. He just rehabbed that building and we gave him $190,000.
How many units is it?
It's whatever 190 divided by
Yeah.
5,000.
Okay, Dave.
See, the West Point grad does that math like that.
That's Army.
Even the one store finds it out every now and then.
Let's see. Who else did we? I can get you a list.
Sure, I mean, just, whatever comes.
Oh,
to mind.
the old cutlery building in Camillus.
Oh, sure,
We did
okay.
we funded phase 2 and we have money for them for phase 3, but they're currently working on straightening out. They had a shortage they're trying to close.
Okay.
The what? Oh yes, the out by Township 5. They're doing Church Street Station. Is that what it's called? Right? Yeah, they're across the property across the street from where Town Center is, or Township 5 is. They're building 200 something units. It's a large project.
How much are they getting?
5,000.
They got 200.
Okay, oh, sorry.
Well, but they're over the limit, right? So they got 250.
The good news about this program is we're the last money in.
Yeah.
So typically these programs, it's not a hope and a wish and this is a plan that might or might not happen. These things are well down the road, so the success is pretty high.
And that's why, again, when we get that status report, we can see that and then for future decisions,
Sure.
so it'd be really helpful.
Okay.
Any other questions on OCHIP?
Then we also have our hotel initiative, which we have a shortage of hotel rooms, and then we had a couple of hotels close that I think we lost like 900 rooms in the community between the tower and the other one. Yes, University Sheridan, and then the tower that is now housing, and then there was the Mayflower next to the on East Genesee Street. They got turned into apartments.
Right.
So between those, we lost a bunch of rooms, and with Micron coming, we know that we're going to need rooms for people who are here temporarily working on different components of the project, as well as just our own tourism and things like that. We need more rooms. So the county executive put this hotel initiative forward. So far, we've awarded $2.3 million for 7 projects, which will be a total investment of $160 million. The one that's open that we helped was the Home to Suites over off 7th North Street that opened up about 6 months ago. And then the old, on Electronics Parkway in Salina, the old Ramada that is now, I think it's called the Randolph House. We've awarded money to them. That one's in process. And then there's another Home to Suites that's looking to go up over on Route 31 that we've given an award to. So it's been a good program.
The big what's the status of the big downtown one here?
The
Street.
Onondaga, they're redoing their plans right now. They did get an award from us,
Right.
and they are currently redoing. They got held up with a lawsuit for a little bit, and so now they've settled that with the person whose building is next door to where they want to build, And so now they're reworking their plans for that property, and they should have something shortly going forward.
Question, I might have missed it. Is there like a cadence, like, I know OCHIP is $5,000 per unit last in for the hotels.
There is no metric like that for this program. We basically kind of look at how many rooms are you bringing, and what they ask for a certain amount. They usually get less than what they're asking for. A good developer's can ask for more than they can give you. But we don't have a strict parameter like that like we do for OCHIP. But I also have a committee that makes those decisions as well, which is Peter Casper over at whatever they call the on-center people now. It's an ASM still. So Peter Casper's on it. Danny Lika from Visit Syracuse, which Danny actually worked for the Marriott Corporation at one point, so he has strong knowledge. Nora from Center State is on it as well. And then Isabel from the county exec's office. And then I oversee having the meetings and getting people to vote.
And then what's the total investment of that program? Do you know that?
From us so far?
Yeah, like what we kind of allocate into it.
Yes.
And while you're looking for that, just to think about, again, what metrics are we using to judge success on the hotel initiative?
Rooms.
Yeah.
Rooms created,
Yes. Well, I mean,
1,000, 5.
Right, how many?
well, right now it's 933 of the projects that we funded. We have awarded 2.265 million, and there's 1.735 million remaining.
Okay, so 4.
Can I just ask a question to piggyback off Mo there? Is there a typical number you try to think of with these hotels? Is it a percent of the project? Is it, I mean,
to have no, you know, no sort of regulation or idea of where you might want to be on a project, could you fund 20% of the project, you know?
No, well, no, we don't come close to funding that percentage of it. So to give you an example, the Home 2 Suites that opened in Liverpool, it cost them just over $18 million to build that project, and we awarded them $400,000. And then the other Home 2 Suites that's being done in clay is roughly the same cost, so it's the same award. But like,
Can I ask how you arrived at that number, I guess, is
there's not really a strict formula to it. We just, I mean, the first one to apply was the Home 2 Suites, and we kind of look at the brand. We look at the level it's gonna bring. You know, if it's a red roof, it might receive different funding than a Home 2 Suites because it's gonna cost a little less to build because it's a lower level of quality hotel. It's more of an economy. So there is no specific parameter. We really rely a lot on the committee members. You know, like I said, like Danny Lika has a very good working knowledge of the different costs that go into doing this, and Peter Casper obviously has a background in this type of stuff. So
And the types of rooms we need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what we need.
But you're also looking at the budget, correct?
yes, we do base it on the overall budget, but there's not a specific percentage applied. Like if it costs this much, we'll give you 10%. It's just.
So there's a lot of latitude there. The funds that are already allocated, do you anticipate those to get you satisfactory to the number of hotel rooms you want?
I think we'll assess that as we get closer to the money being gone. And then if, you know, the county executive, if something works, he likes to try and replicate it, which is what he does in the Main Street program.
Let me jump in here. Anecdotally,
You get the mic.
It's for the
People
report.
can't hear.
It's for the viewers at home.
I'm people. I listen to you, and I can't hear you.
Working with Danny Lika's group, Visit Syracuse, the number that seems to be where we're short is about 2,000 rooms. And so through the IDA and through the Economic Development Office, working obviously in concert with Marty's team over community development, right now we're looking at probably having brought online roughly 600 hotel rooms, new hotel rooms. So we still have a little bit of ways to go to meet what we think is ultimately going to be the need relative to extended, and we're looking some extent, I'm guessing Marty does as well, I'm guessing, but I know that we're looking at extended stay relative to folks that are coming in, needing a longer commitment because of work that they're doing in the community in anticipation of what's coming.
Thank you.
So we're going to be adding more money to this.
I didn't say that. I said that's what the goal is, and this is where we want to go.
Legislator Meeker.
Thank you. Just quickly, I don't know if you have this answer right now, but $600,000 was awarded to, let's talk about the one in Liverpool, between sales tax and room occupancy tax. How long do you anticipate it'll be before you recover that?
I don't know that, but I can try and do anything.
It's a good math question.
It's higher
This is higher math.
I can try and,
I don't anticipate it would take that long because of the, but I'm just curious as to what's the time frame before?
okay. Yeah, okay, let me see what I can come up with something there.
Chairwoman Watts had a question.
Thank you, Jack.
You mentioned at the beginning where your funding comes from for this department being, I think essentially self-funded through economic development, community development funds, correct? So is this coming out of like the sales tax and taxpayer dollars officially, or is this being kind of funded by OSIDA and
The
those kinds
hotel
of
initiative
fees and
money was
things?
put into the budget for the program.
So it is taxpayer money essentially
Correct.
that is
Yeah,
paying
we're
for
going
this.
over right now are all county
Okay,
funds.
okay, excellent. Thank you for that clarification.
Good. Comments? Okay. Sure. And then the next county initiative is the lead funding, where the county executive was, for the first time in the history of the county, put money into the budget for lead initiatives, which we work jointly with the health department. The health department really has the bulk of the work that's being done off of the county lead money. We use it to supplement lead projects, like I was explaining before, where sometimes you need to put extra money in to get a house done or a unit done. And we also use the money, when we apply for a HUD lead grant, we're required to provide a match of funding. So like in the grant that we were just awarded, the $7.75 million, part of our grant application was that we committed $1,000 in match, or $1 million in matching funds on our application. There's a percentage that's required, but we went a little bit above that to make our application stronger. So that's really, and we work very closely with the health department and the director of lead operations on all these initiatives. And then the Shape Up for Veterans initiative. So we have a program called Shape Up, which is for people 62 or older who have some sort of disability that need something done to their house. Like maybe they need a ramp put in, they need their bathroom remodeled, things like that. And so the county created a Shape Up program directed at veterans. And the big difference between our regular Shape Up and the veterans one is that the veterans one has no age restriction on it. So it still has the income requirements of 80% AMI or lower, but unlike the Shape Up program, which you have to be 62, with the Shape Up for Veterans, it's open to any age. And other than the normal things like you have to have your property taxes up to date, you have to be income eligible. With the Shape Up for Veterans, you also have to have been honorably discharged from the military to receive funding.
So the Shape Up for Veterans is purely a local program?
Correct.
And then the Shape Up program alone is a state program?
Federal.
Federal, okay. We could name different things, that'd be great.
Thank you. On the Shape Up for Veterans, could a widow of a veteran make application?
I believe yes.
Also on the Shape Up for Veterans, is the county doing any outreach, like funded outreach to the veterans community about the program?
Yes, when we started the program, we're on our third round of funding right now for the program. When we started the program, we did a lot of outreach because sometimes it's difficult to get veterans to ask for help. or to accept help. So we reached out and did a lot, but then once the program got rolling, we have a backlog of applications. It's been very successful. So that's an overview of the highlights of my programs. And so then I'll answer any questions people have or provide more information on what you'd like to know.
One question I do have is for the Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. It seemed like the one that's online right now goes from 2020 to 2024. Do we have a current version of that?
We do.
Can we get that on the website or
Yes.
send it to us?
Yes.
That would be great.
It should be up there. So, yeah, so we do the consolidated plan we do every 5 years. And then the annual plan we obviously do annually.
So there's two different, so there's a 5-year plan and an annual action plan. Okay.
Yeah, the annual action plan is sort of inside the
It's in-
consolidated, the
Okay.
plan. But I'll check why that's not on the website.
Thank you.
Sure.
Let's see.
For lead, for my records, what metrics are we using to judge success in lead remediation? We put 11.2 million total money. Like, what has that gotten us? Like, are we tracking amount of homes renovated or amount of windows? Like, how are we using?
There are, actually, in the meeting before this, the health department just went over like, for probably, yeah, I know, but for like 40 minutes, all the stuff they're doing with a lot of this lead money. So I'll get you a copy of their presentation, so you have that. But the different components of the program have different metrics. So like lead testing, we're able to do a lot more lead testing than we did prior to the county funding being there. We bought a lead van that goes out to events and provides free testing to people. We use the money to secure other grants, like, so that we do different scope of lead work outside of my lead grant. So like there's the Windows, Doors, and More program where we got a grant from the state and we matched up funding from this lead county money, where we go into homes that aren't eligible for my lead program, for our department's lead program, and we do lead remediation work in those homes. So like, you know, if you're to qualify for my program, not only do you have to have a child under 6 who's there the majority of the time, and the income levels are based on the person living on the property, not the person who owns the property. But if you have to be a family of 4, like I said, making 82,000 or less. Well, a family of 4 who makes 95 can't necessarily put new siding and windows in their entire house and just cover it. So this fills the gap because there's not an income restriction on the Windows, Doors, and More program. And then we partnered with Home Headquarters and Central New York Community Foundation, and we just did a Windows and Doors program that CMY Community Foundation had developed. We gave them a round of funding to help promote that program because the windows and the doors most of the poisoning for kids comes from lead dust. Friction surfaces create the dust, the kids on the floor a lot, and the child, and hands go in mouth, and then you have a problem. So windows and doors, being able to replace those eliminates 90% of the friction surfaces in the house. So
like, there's not a target number of doors or a target number of windows?
they had all that. Yeah, they do have all that numbers. I don't.
Okay.
I don't have that. Like I think they said they had done like 480 windows, and
were they aiming for 400 or 1,000? Is what I want to know.
It's a pot of money, and that's what we have to spend. So it's not. It's based on the cost of the materials at the time. So we don't set out and say we've got $1 million. We're doing 1,000 windows. We say we have this funding, and then we go forward.
Thank you.
So you have contractors basically bid for these projects. So depending on how the bids come in and the availability of labor, it can skew your budget.
Yes.
I guess the last question, sorry, go ahead, Rich.
Thank you. As far as the training for lead contractors, how are we doing on that right now?
Great. That has been the biggest game changer in our whole lead program. They have qualified 16 new contractors in addition to the 5 that we had. What we ran into after COVID was we ended up, we used to have a pretty sizable pool of contractors for our lead jobs prior to COVID. And when we send out the bids to the bids to the contractors, we send them out in pools. So if we have 15, we'll send 1 to 5 different ones. We'll send 1 to another 5, 1 to another 5, because that way we don't end up with a bottleneck of someone winning 6 or 7 jobs, and then it slows down our production and we don't get the jobs done in as timely manner as we want. So once COVID hit, once we could start working again, our contractor pool had dwindled down to like 4 or 5. And because so many of our contractors who've done lead work for us had this huge backlog of private work to do and other things that they were behind on. And so being something that takes longer to do and is a lot more cumbersome because of the EPA requirements, not that they shouldn't be cumbersome because it's lead dust, but there are a lot of requirements and it's a slower job, a lot of our contractors stopped bidding. And so the Director of Lead Initiatives focused a bunch of the money on running trainings to get contractors trained and certified. And so now we're up to 16 with the 5 we originally had, and we've lowered our time from application till clearance from over a year to just over 8 months.
And is there still funding available for it?
Yes, they run they do the worker training monthly, and they do the, you have to have a supervisor's license for any crew that's working on a project, has to have a supervisor with an EPA certification on the job, and so they run those quarterly. And they have, they fill them up every time they run them. Between 10 and 12 people for the supervisor training every quarter when they run it.
Money well spent.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. It's made a huge difference.
Any other questions? Okay. I think we're all set. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
So next we'll have Chairwoman Watts come up and talk to us about creating housing and transportation citizen advisory board.
All right, so I am personally very excited about this next agenda item. So when we set out into this year, the county executive and I had an initial conversation, as well as a number of us as legislators, about how we want to and need to address housing here in Onondaga County. We all know we sat for the presentation last Tuesday with the Micron conversation. We were talking about the number of minutes that need to be added and where we're at and how we're falling short. We're doing a lot of work on lead. We know there's still a lot to be done. All it takes is driving or walking around a lot of our neighborhoods to see the number of vacancies, the duration of a lot of our existing housing stock. Housing is a significant issue in Onondaga County. And so we have an opportunity to do something about it. And so what does that need to be? So this resolution is to set up a citizen advisory board. So essentially, as the legislature, we are able to commission these one-term advisory boards. And this citizen advisory board, according to the resolution, will be made up of 7 to 40 people. And they're looking at the question of kind of ensuring that they are informed in what the county already is doing, us exploring how what the county is doing around housing is working, and then what can and should we be doing related to the housing crisis, but also just the overall future housing needs that we have as a county. It's the Housing and Transportation Citizen Advisory Board because when we're talking especially at a county level, we cannot separate transportation from housing. Because we might have land to build in Fabius, a nice apartment complex, but what if somebody doesn't have a car and can't get to the resources that they need? So it's imperative that it stay linked to transportation. So this Citizen Advisory Board, I have a starting list of folks put together that we're looking to invite. The way that the resolution is set up is that they would all be just appointed by me, but advised by the minority and majority leader in terms of weighing in on who should be there. The list is very diverse. It includes folks who are developers in our area, such as CORE, a representative of CORE in the Inner Harbor. It includes fair housing advocates from some tenants' rights and other entities like that. It includes people like Harry Paglia from headquarters. So we're trying to get a broad spectrum of perspectives and folks that have a lot of knowledge and experience to bring to bear so that this short and important conversation can happen in such a way to answer these questions and then offer up recommendations back to us on what that we're doing is working, could be done, like how could we continue to improve, what can and should we be doing as we pursue this as a county. So the term is until the end, or the length is until the end of this term. And then if it's a successful and helpful thing, we can always renew it again next year. But that is what this resolution includes. Does anyone have any questions?
So I'm would look for a motion to establish this committee.
So moved.
Can I have a second? So Legislator Brown?
I'll second.
Legislator Erickson? All in favor? Okay, so it passes. Thank you. Yeah, and then the last item we have is the update on appointments.
Yes, exactly. So the outside boards and commissions, as has been previously mentioned, each one of those that we are responsible for either appointing or confirming has been matched with a standing committee of the legislature. And so we have a couple that are matched here with the Planning and Economic Development Committee. We have Legislator Weaver, are you still sitting on the same White Works Board of Directors?
To my knowledge.
To your best of your knowledge.
It's vacant.
Oh, no, I think that was it's just hasn't been renewed officially. So that's what that means. So as long as you are anticipating and planning to stay on that, we'll assume that that is the case.
Okay.
The Onondaga County Planning Board, we have one that is expiring later this year. This is not filled by us. This is one of those confirmations. However, just bringing it to our attention in case if we have anyone we'd like to put forward, we can send those over to the folks that do appoint. The Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board, those appointments are made by the county executive. However, Legislator Denton, as the chair of this committee, and myself as the chair of the legislature, do automatically sit on that committee or that board. So we are represented in that conversation. And the CNY Regional Market Authority is an opportunity. So this is one that we are responsible to fill. And there are currently 2 vacancies open. It needs to be a market vendor, which kind of limits things a little bit. But I have a feeling that Legislator Knapp here, as well as a number of us around the table, could make some suggestions of folks who we could put forward and would love to get just some resumes.
And I'm on that board as a county executive.
Yes, okay, fantastic. So I'd love to see us fill that with some folks that would be good to represent. OCDC was filled. This is appointed by us. However, those were filled the end of last year, and so the current status is that those spots are filled. OSIDA, we have 2 of the folks that were appointed at the end of last year's terms are coming up in May. This is obviously a very important and draws a lot of attention. Does a lot of things that are very impactful to and in our community that we want to make sure that we're really being mindful of who we put into these positions. And so those are 2 that I strongly put forward to the committee to really consider who should be in those 2 spots when they open up at the end or in the beginning of June. And we'll want to go ahead and be all prepped and ready for that to happen on time. So that's an important one. And then we have the Community Development Steering Committee that Marty was mentioning earlier. Those are made by the county executive. We just make recommendations. It's been Brian May and David Knapp, to the best of our ability to.
It's been recently it was Tim Burtis and Brian May.
It was Tim Burtis and Brian May. Okay, great.
Previously.
Okay, so that's where that came from. So again, this comes from the county executive. If for any reason we want to, put forward any alternatives, that is something we have to submit to the county executive. And when it says vacant, it just means that the clerks, as they were searching through the records, couldn't updated resolution. So we just want to make sure all our i's are dotted and t's are crossed.
So if anyone has any recommendations for any of those boards, I think send them to me
Yeah,
or
let's send them to you first so that this committee can kind of review them and put people forward.
Okay,
Would be great.
that would be great. And, anything else for finance and development? Great. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.